Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, a farmer-hating homeowner association claimed my farm belongs to them and ended up trying to convert my property into a concrete parking lot. Never mess with a farmer. Here is what happened. So my farm has been in my family for generations. That is not unusual though for the rural area where I live. It's full of small farms and people who have not left the area for hundreds of years. As time goes on, more things happened, and before I knew it, farms were getting sold off due to the bad economy and the land was getting bought up by rich developers. I'm not turned off by the mere concept of change and houses being built where farms used to be. However, it made me a little sad when I saw a subdivision and HOA being formed on the land of families that I had known my entire life. Other farmers nearby had a bad feeling too, and I heard them talking about how HOAs just want to push farmers out. And just wait, because they would come crawling with big money offers for the land. Instead though, I started to get directly harassed by the HOA president herself, who assumed that I was nothing but a hick she could manipulate and abuse. Just because an area is rural does not mean that we are not educated people, and I really think it's that small stereotype that let Karen think they can get away with it. She came up to my farm to talk to me. Karen, hey there, my name is Karen and I'm the HOA president. I just wanted to come by and talk to you about rules and your land. Me? Oh, I wasn't interested in joining the HOA. In fact, I think my land is actually part of a different district than where the subdivision is. So you don't need to waste your time or breath asking me to join. Karen, I was not gonna ask you to join. You live in the neighborhood and that means you need to follow the HOA rules. I know it might be a little confusing for you, but I can explain it really simple. Me, because you don't think I can understand what you're talking about, right? Karen, listen, we have plans to buy some land and open local stores that are easy for people to access. What they really need is a nice parking lot, and your land is perfect for that. Me, I'm not interested in selling my land. Karen, we are not buying anything. Let me slow it down for you. She then starts to speak to me like I'm a child or somebody with brain damage that cannot understand what's going on around them. Karen, the HOA owns the land now, and we are gonna use it to make a parking lot. You need to go somewhere else with your family to live. I slammed the door in her face, refusing to be insulted like that. I couldn't believe she was trying to steal my land and thought that she could get away with it because I was a farmer and assumed that I was dumb. As a southern guy, I was raised with a certain mentality of how to act around women. If that was a man, I would have punched him in the face, but I settled for a door in her face instead. Now, once a year, I go with my family to visit my wife's side of the family for the holidays. It's about a 3-hour trip each way, but we stay a few days. The kids get to see their cousins and I get a well-needed break from the farm. And yes, the farm can survive a couple of days with just my neighbor checking in on it. That turned out to be a huge mistake though, because I came back to see a disaster. I guess Karen did not understand the words no the first time because I came back to my farm basically being a construction site. Concrete had already been poured over my fields, they were destroyed, and I had my wife take the kids inside so they didn't hear the kind of language I unleashed on Karen, who was there supervising the crew. Speaking of the crew, they were confused when I told them this was my house and to stop with their work. Karen had somehow convinced them that it was abandoned property the HOA had taken over. I told them and Karen to leave. While the crew was not going to continue with me saying no, Karen was not going to stop. Even if she walked away now, it was too late because my field was ruined with the concrete, and that doesn't extend to just the crops. Concrete can easily damage the deep soil, making future crops not grow as well. I spoke to a lawyer and told him that I wanted to sue Karen for destroying my property. He wrote a cease and desist to the HOA, and he also needed me to file a police report since some of her actions were actually criminal. All I could go after her for was money I lost for my crop yield. A warning from a lawyer was not enough for Karen though, and she said the land was gonna be a parking lot and would not get the concrete removed. Meanwhile, she now had a criminal trying being set as well for trespassing and destruction of my property. It didn't matter if the crew did it, she was responsible. In court, both cases, Karen was trying to argue that my farm was HOA property and she could do what she needed for the good of everybody else. The construction crew leader even testified that she claimed the land was not owned by anyone. It did not even matter that I was not in the HOA district because an HOA cannot just take over somebody's private property anyway. It got worse for her because during all the destruction she had a few trees torn down too. I figured nothing major, but it turned out that one of the big oak trees she had cut down was considered a local landmark. Native American tribes used it as a waypoint for meetings or something like that. This added a charge of cultural destruction against Karen. Things for her just kept looking worse the more court continued. Karen was found guilty in criminal court and liable in civil court too, being forced to pay massive fines to the county and myself. Plus she had to pay for the land to be restored to its previous state on her dime. Finally, it turned out that destroying or even damaging culturally sacred sites is a felony charge. She had single-handedly caused the migration of people into the area as being seen as a horrible thing. That meant people from all sides were against her. Her own HOA hung her out to dry, claiming she worked alone and they had no idea what she was doing. Also, the judge wanting to set a precedent in case more HOAs formed and tried to steal farmland. She got sent to prison for a year and she couldn't even believe it, thinking she was in the right the entire time. Since her stunt, there has been a pretty big divide where I still live. The farmers don't want anything to do with the people that come from the city, not wanting to know or just trust them because Karen ruined it for everybody. This was well over a year ago, which means if nothing went wrong, Karen would have gotten out by now, but I never saw her again. My guess is she went back to the city and had enough sense to know that nobody around here would want to see her. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you still enjoy these stories about crazy HOAs, then please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post a comment, because that would help me tremendously. The next one is a relationship story and it is titled, "My wife abandoned me 2 months ago to find herself. What can I do?" So my wife Mary's family has a history of dementia, developing memory issues in their mid to late 50s. Her mom's grandma and several other relatives on her mom's side have developed dementia as well. Her mom lived with us for 4 years until earlier this year. Father is dead and our kids are independent and out of the house. The oldest is in her last semester of college and the younger is enlisted. The last 4 years were tough on us. Our kids' daughter moved for college but moved back for a bit during the pandemic, and our marriage. Living with someone with dementia is brutal. We had talked a lot the last year about taking the remaining college funds or our regular savings, sell or rent the house. We were ready to downsize anyway, quit our jobs and travel for a year or until the money runs out. We just had to wait for her mom to move into her home. I understand her anxiety about developing dementia, and I was burnt out. You live through the pandemic working remote, a wife working remote, a college and high school student taking remote classes, and a mother-in-law with dementia, and see how you hold up. Space finally opened back up and we were able to move her mom into a care facility. I finally thought I had a chance to breathe. However, when we moved Mary's mom out, Mary's mental health took huge downward spiral. I went from caring for her mom to caring for her. She felt guilty about putting her mom in a home and had lots of anxiety about developing dementia herself. Our plan was to start our traveling summer in 2024. 2 months ago I get home and she has left a note. My friends call it Exhibit A. Basically, she was going on our trip without me. She had quit her job, took most of the savings, and was not sure when she would be back. Maybe a year, maybe sooner. She knew that I would understand. Her location is turned off and my calls go directly to voicemail. I texted the kids a picture of the note. We have our own checking accounts for direct deposits of our paychecks, but we would transfer most into a joint account to pay the household bills and savings. We both had access to main savings account. We have joint credit cards we used for household expenses. The 2 cars and mortgage are joint too. We both also have our own small savings accounts, our own retirement accounts equally funded, and our own credit cards for gifts and fun things. I closed all joint cards and accounts. I waited a month to see if she would come back, hopefully before she spent our savings. After receiving only one text the first month, I went to a lawyer. She basically said there was very little to do right now, other than change the beneficiaries of my retirement accounts and life insurance. Yay, my wife gets nothing else if I die alone while she is having our adventures. It was only a month and there was no way to serve her papers. My lawyer advised me to keep paying the mortgage and the cars. The cost of trying to get a judge to approve the sale of joint assets was more than making payments. I didn't want to ruin my credit by letting one of our cars get repossessed, but I cannot sell it because she is on the title. I get random texts and she sporadically posts on Instagram. Of course she has comments turned off. I want to block her so bad, but my lawyer advised me that it's better to maintain a communication channel that's not through our kids. Her last post was from Hawaii. She put in the comments how great a husband I was for letting her take this trip. I'm barely making it, paying 2 cars, a mortgage, household bills, insurance, hoping there are no more emergencies because I have no savings, and she is enjoying our trip. F her. I'm so pissed at her. I helped take care of her mom for 4 years and her when she fell apart after her mom moved into a memory care home, and she returns the favor by abandoning me. I'll never get to take this trip and have to put off retirement. My only solace is the kids are pissed at her, but they will probably forgive her eventually. So basically double F her. I'm no fool. She's hooking up with guys, she looks good, she will have zero problem getting men. Update to the story, I texted her and asked if she was sleeping around. A week later she responded that she wasn't. Sure, I totally believed her, so here I am drinking alone on a Friday night and she is somewhere, probably on a beach, enjoying life. Triple F her. Edit number 2, my lawyer has given me a bunch of advice and options. It was just way more than I could possibly include in this post. I could definitely push the issue harder, and I might need to at some point, but all that work is very expensive. Finding her, serving her, getting a judge to sign off, that's not cheap. I'm following up soon, and I plan on talking about the savings and my finances. Until I paid all the bills and realized how little was left, it didn't hit me that I had to worry about money. And yeah, Ripe Stars, let me know what you think about this dumpster fire of a situation so far. And after you have done that in the comments, let's read an update to the story. OP says, I'm feeling much more positive now that the financial situation has become a little bit more manageable. Basically, I'm running up debt that will get paid off when I sell the house. Even with lawyer fees, I have 6 to 8 more months before I have to worry about money, assuming there are no emergencies. My friend's wife gave me some good advice. Don't go from being a hero to a villain in your kids' eyes. Basically, how I talk about and treat my wife will determine my future relationship with my kids. I honestly don't give a damn about my wife anymore, but I don't want to make her a sympathetic figure or drive them away from both of us. I followed up with the lawyer, and basically she said we are going to have her pay back the savings she took through a reduction in her share of the assets. Any division of assets will include the savings she took, and she will also have to repay the money I spent maintaining the household while she was gone. There's plenty of equity in her share of the house and her retirement plans to cover that. She said that our finances are so intertwined after nearly 25 years of marriage, my wife is gonna get some share of the assets too. Best cases, she agrees to the terms of the divorce and it's relatively cheap and quick. Otherwise, it gets complicated and expensive. She gave me a lot of options and how much I can expect to spend, so I decided to just mostly wait. I got a couple of credit cards with promo rates for purchases and transfers. That gives me breathing room and I can conserve cash. I'll just pay them off when I sell the house. Now that my financial situation is less stressful, I'm actually enjoying her being gone. I'm free to do whatever I want whenever. I don't have to cook or clean or take care of anyone. The house is quiet for the first time I can remember. I love my wife, but her mental health weighed down our marriage. On balance, it was worth it until now. The first month or so I expected her to be there whenever I would get home. When someone was at the door or if I'd heard noises, I would think it was her. I check the doorbell cam obsessively. I'm not looking forward to her returning, to be honest. It has to happen, but when she comes back, I'll have to deal with her, the divorce, getting the house ready to sell, dividing all our stuff, finding a new place to live, etc. I'm just hoping that she'll stay away until after New Year's, but my daughter said she thinks her mom will be home for Christmas either to stay or visit. My lawyer will have papers ready to serve her. Hopefully she will just agree to the terms and continue her travels. People had some great advice, by the way. Renting or selling the house? That's not really feasible right now, since I would have to fix some stuff and get it ready to sell and rent. Since I need a place to live, the amount I net each month, rent, mortgage rent on a new apartment, storage unit, not worth it. My kids' rooms are still full of their stuff and I don't want to spend the time and effort to clear them out and put them in storage. Getting a HELOC, this was great advice. I didn't realize I didn't need both people to get a loan. If I need more money, I can go this way. By the way, Ripe Stars, if you're curious what HELOC means, it's basically a home equity line of credit. In the short term, the promo rates on the credit cards were cheaper and easier than getting a HELOC. Serving my wife divorce papers or getting divorce in absentia, this is something I might need to do eventually, but the cost in lawyer fees goes up exponentially in cases like this. I'm comfortable just waiting for now, look at the phone bill to see where she's at and possibly going. I did look at her usage and did notice that she doesn't post on social media until after she leaves the place. Like when she posted about Hawaii, she made a call that day that originated in Los Angeles. She posted about a cruise and I figured out the dates, trying to serve her at the port possibly, but it ended a couple of days before she posted. She tried adding international calling calling to her line, but I blocked it so she removed her phone from our account. Another update to the story. So my wife texted me in the middle of December that she would be home for Christmas. I told her that we, our daughter and I, would be at my brother's and she obviously wasn't welcome. I would leave her car in the driveway and the fob in the backyard. She was not allowed in the house unless I was there. She also didn't have the keys to get in. She spent Christmas with her sister. When we got back, I met with her. I decided not to be overly confrontational because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of thinking I cared enough to be mad. She was taken aback about how detached I was. I could tell it bothered her that I didn't show her much emotion, not even anger. So I just wanted her to agree to a divorce. This is a summary of several different meetings, both with and without our daughter. She hasn't wanted to meet with her mom alone yet. I also asked why she left without telling anyone. She said she didn't want to wait a year, she didn't want anyone talking her out of it, she didn't want to work anymore, she wanted to leave before her mental health got worse. I'm sure it's mostly because she didn't want me to stop her from taking the money. She knew I would take care of everything with the kids and house when she left. We had decided to go summer of 2024 for a few reasons. Packing everything and getting the house ready to sell was gonna be a lot of work. We wanted to make sure our daughter graduated college, got a job and was settled. We wanted to make sure we had money when we got back. We wouldn't have a house, cars or jobs, so we needed money because it could take months to find work and a place to live. We didn't want to have any worries or deal with a mess back home. At some point in our planning, she began questioning, to herself, not me, if she ever wanted to go back to our old life. She didn't want to work full-time or buy a house and stay in one place after we got back. She wasn't sure what she wanted, but she didn't think she would figure it out talking to me. I told her that's the reason we were taking the trip, to figure those things out together, to see what we wanted for the next part of our life. I asked her why she didn't want to just get a divorce before she left, and then she wouldn't have had to do this behind our backs and she would have had plenty of money without stealing our joint savings. She claims that she didn't want a divorce, that she wanted us to live whatever life she figured out. I told her that's not how marriages work, one person deciding for the other. In talking and texting our daughter, her family, my texts and voicemails, she realized I might not forgive her. She was right about that, by the way, so she might have to visualize a future without me. This is where I'd hoped she would say some stupid stuff like she was gonna squander all her money, living in a van and make travel vlogs, or she met some guy that she needed to wire money to so they could open an ice cream shop in Alaska. Instead though, she wants to be a digital nomad, working part-time, fully remote and living in new places. She tried to convince me to go with her, but I'll never be able to trust her, plus I don't love her anymore. Traveling like that for a few years doesn't sound bad, but she doesn't have a job or any work lined up, she's not in her 20s anymore, and that way of living will get old quick, no close friends nor family. I want her to make it work so she won't be here trying to get back in our lives. If you're curious how the kids are doing, well, our son wouldn't have seen us the entire time she was gone anyway. He only responds to her with very short texts, and he told me she wanted to see him, but he said he was too busy and wouldn't be able to get away. He lives in the barracks, so it's an easy excuse to avoid her. My daughter stopped talking and texting her. She is pretty upset. Her worry turned to anger when she realized her mom was not having a mental breakdown, but was just being selfish. If her mom was sticking around, they could probably work through it eventually. I just cared that my daughter is happy, so whatever she decides I will support. Number 2, someone asked, did she spend all the money? Well, she did about half. I think she realized she needed to figure it out before she completely ran out of money. In regards to, did she sleep with anyone? Well, I didn't ask because I didn't care. Asking would imply I wanted her back or it would matter to me. Even though I didn't ask, she claims she didn't. Not sure if she's lying or not. She might just be saying that because she doesn't want the kids to have another reason to be mad at her. Does she feel bad for what she put us through? Well, she claims she does, and she wishes she had it handled differently. She said getting away and figuring herself out was best for her. I told her she was just being selfish. When she first left, we were worried something would happen to her and we would never see her again. Well, she's always been self-centered, and I told her she is taking the easier route and letting everyone else handle the difficult parts. If she gets sick, the kids will take care of her. She goes broke, live with family. Abandon everyone, they will forgive her. She thinks her siblings and our children will let her live with them like we let her mom live with us. I'm sure when she visualizes her future, she sees our kids there. There might not be, and definitely not in the same way they were before. Despite how it might sound, I'm actually really happy with how it all turned out. Our divorce is far from final, but we've agreed on the big things. We will sell the house, how to split the retirement and profit from the house, how to pay back the money she took, and what I spent maintaining the household. I got most of what I wanted from the settlement, and she will soon be, mostly, out of my life. I won't have to pay alimony, and because she is choosing to make significantly less money than she was, I won't be forced to support her. That would have been a kick to the teeth, honestly. She is not my responsibility anymore, and I won't have to care for her if she does get sick or goes broke. I figured I would start dating again. I did not realize a 50-year-old man with children out of the house, a good job and in decent shape would be a catch. I'm not fighting women off with a stick, but I've had a lot more interest than I expected. It's been kind of nice meeting new women. I've worked out the numbers and I'll be doing pretty well after everything is settled, and I only have to support myself. Not where I wanted to be at 50, getting divorced and using Reddit as free therapy sessions. Then again though, I'm happier now than I have been in a while. I'm even planning a little vacation of my own. P.S. Thank you to everyone that has responded and reached out, it meant a lot. And yeah, ripe stars, I gotta say, I'm really happy for OP that things took a little turn in the end, and while I can't say that everything is better now, since still he's worse off financially than he was before the wife left, he is probably emotionally in a better place now that they are getting a divorce soon. I really hope the best for OP, and I hope that he will have a happy life after this. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.